And you believe Christian marriage provides that women have to be subservient to their husbands?
Senator, I think I was quoting either a passage in Ephesians or those are not my words. Those are words in the
Well, you
scriptures.
said them. Do you believe them?
Senator, I believe every word of the Bible.
House. Senator Kennedy.
Mr. Olsen, I believe I looked at your resume. You are an elder in the Reformed Presbyterian Church of North America. Is that correct?
I am an ordained elder in the RPCNA. I am not actively serving.
In August of 2015, you gave a sermon at the Second Reformed Presbyterian Church. Do you remember that?
2015, I think that might have been a Sunday school lecture, but I spoke, yes.
During that sermon, you said that marriage was not intended for all people, including, and I'm going to quote your words, our handicapped friends are our persons with physical disabilities that might prevent the robust marriage that we're called to, close quote. Did you say that?
I think I did, Senator, yes.
You believe that folks with handicaps and physical disabilities?
What just happened is not a theological debate. It's a test of whether deeply held beliefs might shape real-world authority. When personal doctrine touches civil rights, the law doesn't get the luxury of ambiguity. This moment matters because judges don't rule in churches. They rule over people's lives. And once questions like this are raised, they don't disappear. They follow a nominee straight into confirmation history.
Should not be able to marry?
No, Senator. I was explaining the meaning of Christ's words that some, to use Christ's terms, are eunuchs by birth, and explaining that the meaning of that verse in the context of those who are called to singleness, and that there are various reasons why individuals don't get married.
But what about folks who are handicapped or who have developmental disabilities?
I was using that example as an illustration of why some don't get married, not as a kind of reason why someone shouldn't. It was illustrative of the condition in which some find themselves, but certainly not in any stretch of the imagination suggesting that they couldn't or shouldn't.
Here, we see the careful line walking that defines confirmation hearings. What just happened is a retreat into nuance after a direct quote is placed on the record. This matters because lifetime appointments don't run on intentions. They run on interpretation. And when past words require this much clarification, it signals how fragile public trust can become once the gavel is in hand.
Merely that in some cases they don't.
On July 24, 2022, you gave another sermon at the Columbia Reformed Presbyterian Church. Do you remember that?
The Columbus Reformed Presbyterian Church, yes.
You were speaking about sexuality, is that correct?
I gave two sermons at that church, and the main topic of both of those was not human sexuality.
Well, in one of them you said, quote, transgenderism, homosexuality, fornication, and all sorts of sexual perversions was a form of hypocrisy from, quote, your words, shame on the inside. Did you say that?
I don't recall the precise wording, but that sounds
What did you mean by that?
Yeah, Senator, thanks for the opportunity to clarify that. So I was preaching a sermon on a passage in the Old Testament about an Old Testament King Uzziah who was stricken with leprosy.
I don't have a lot of time, Counselor. Tell me what you meant by that.
Sure, that many...
Do you believe that fornication is a form of sexual perversion?
This exchange exposes the central tension of the hearing, belief versus authority. What just happened is an attempt to separate personal conviction from professional obligation. But the law doesn't exist in a vacuum. It's enforced by humans with values. And when those values are this explicit, the Senate has a responsibility to ask whether justice can remain neutral.
Senator, my personal views, my religious views, what I was speaking at that time were for the edification of the people that I was preaching to. As a judge sitting here today, my obligation is to apply the rule of law.
Yeah, I understand that, but
Constitution.
my obligation is to try to understand you, because this is a lifetime appointment. Do you believe that fornication, which I assume you mean by that the sex act, is a form of sexual perversion?
Senator, the doctrine of the church that I was at does state that fornication is a sin.
Well, what do you mean by fornication?
Any sexual act outside of the bounds of marriage.
Okay. So you believe premarital sex is a sexual perversion?
Senator, my personal views, as many have said before, I won't comment, but the doctrine of the church that I belong to would.
Is it your doctrine?
I took, as an elder, I took a vow.
Is it your doctrine?
As an elder of the RPCA.
Is it your doctrine?
This is pressure doing its job. What just happened is accountability tightening its grip. The Senate isn't questioning faith, it's questioning power. Because once confirmed, there is no appeal to personal disclaimers. What this leads to is a clear record. Either belief bends before the Constitution, or the Constitution risks bending to belief.
Senator, my personal views as a judge are not the object of what I would rule upon.
Give me one more minute, please, Mr. Chairman. On August the 23rd, 2015, you spoke in Sunday school, and you said, quote, "I'm not saying women can't have careers. That's not what I'm saying." No, strike that. I'm reading the wrong quote. I apologize. In your talks at your Sunday school, you said that God, quote, has called wives to be subject to their husband, end quote, and to, quote, serve the good of your husband and support his calling, close quote. Did you say that?
I gave a couple Sunday school lectures around that time. I don't recall the particular one, but I think I recall saying something along those lines.
What did you mean by that?
So in Christian marriage, as explained by the apostles, I was describing our church's understanding of what Christian marriage ought to look like.
And you believe Christian marriage provides that women have to be subservient to their husbands?
Senator, I think I was quoting either a passage in Ephesians or those are not my words. Those are words in the
Well, you
scriptures.
said them. Do you believe them?
Senator, I believe every word of the Bible.
This is the moment of clarity. What just happened is the mask coming off. Not in anger, but in certainty. Why it matters is simple. Judges shape precedent, and precedent shapes lives. When worldview is this absolute, the future impact is unavoidable. Rulings won't just interpret law, they'll reflect ideology.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Olsen, can I just follow up on that, since you raised interesting questions, but let me just ask you, you're an ordained elder.
This hearing was never about faith itself. It was about where faith ends and public power begins. What we witnessed is the Senate doing its constitutional duty, asking whether personal certainty can coexist with impartial justice. In a democracy, trust in institutions depends on judges who serve the law above doctrine. When that balance feels uncertain, accountability becomes essential. Because the consequences of getting this wrong last decades, not election cycles. Subscribe to Liberty Report USA to support truth-driven political accountability.